Okay, boxing fans, welcome to another edition of the boxing show. Don't really have a name for it, but you know who I am, IronTruth, formerly with Boxing for Real. I'm the one doing the shows now, so let's get started on last night's fights. The big Shane Mosley versus Sergio Mora card. Had a lot of undercard fights as well, and fights going on all around this weekend, so we'll get to all those. But let's start with the big one, of course, Mosley and Mora. What can you say? Another terrible decision. Mosley pressed the fight the whole time. Mora did have a few good rounds in there. I could see about 8-4 as the very worst for Mosley winning. I myself had it like 9-3, I think, but Mosley clearly deserved the decision. Just an awful scorecard. And even Larry Merchant and Jim Lampley, who I never ever agree with at all, who I have nothing but criticism for, usually 100% of the time, even they were basically saying in their own words that it was a complete robbery. So just, I mean, the fact that me and them agree, I mean, the world must be coming to an end or something, so I don't know what's going on, but Mosley clearly robbed last night. I mean, he looked a little sluggish in there, and he wasn't, he wasn't very fast, wasn't throwing crisp combinations. He was kind of throwing wild once in a while. Very unusual for Mosley, of course, who's a very fast fighter and, very accurate. Wasn't really putting things together that well, but still clearly did more than Mora and definitely deserved that decision. Just an awful decision once again. I mean, what can you say? Not surprised, of course, but anyway, we'll see what happens with both of those fighters. Mora is a good fighter. I mean, he's got some good talent, good skills. I mean, I like, usually every time he fights, I mean, I like, the way he fights. He uses good angles and head movement and everything, and throws good combinations. So obviously he did not do that last night. He was very respectful of Shane Mosley. He did not want to get caught with any big punches from Mosley. He was very intimidated by him. You could definitely tell. He got into it kind of late in the fight a little bit, but still Mosley had put way too many of the early rounds in to even come close to getting a draw or losing a decision. Anyway, let's move on. Mosley definitely won big time, easily. Should have won on the scorecards. I think one judge did have it 116-112, and that's an okay scorecard for Mosley, so that was good. And, I've been away for several years from doing this show, and second day that I do it now. We've already got a BS decision to talk about, so things never change in boxing, obviously, so we'll see what happens. Mosley was hoping to have a very impressive performance and get some big fights, maybe Pacquiao, maybe Margarito or Cotto once again for a rematch. Who knows? He can probably still get those. We'll see what happens, like I say, but he should have won this fight on the scorecards if the judges would have been watching what they were supposed to, or done what they were supposed to. Don't know what happened exactly, but definitely Mosley should have won. Anyway, on the undercard, the battle of the two vicious personalities, characters, Vivian Harris and Victor Ortiz. Victor Ortiz proved that he definitely was the more vicious fighter. He destroyed Vivian Harris in 3 rounds, knocked him down 3 times in the second round. First with a straight left, and then with a I believe it was a right hook that he caught him with, and don't remember exactly what the third knockdown was, but in the third round, the fourth and final knockdown, caught him with 2 right hooks, just very short right hooks, landed perfect. Harris was laid out for a couple of minutes there. They were, tending to him. I don't think he was unconscious or anything. Devastating knockout for Victor Ortiz. Definitely his most impressive performance in his career so far. He's definitely back from the Maidana, fight where he lost, and of course followed up with his now famous line that I don't deserve to be taking punishment. You know, I'm going to have to think about this. I think he's moved on and rebounded well from that. Hopefully he can get a rematch with that guy someday. He's got more talent in his finger than Maidana does by far. He just fought a dumb fight against him, fought the wrong fight against Maidana, fought his brawling type of fight, and he got beat. And Ortiz claims that he, you know, kind of blacked out after about the second round, that he had no idea what was happening or what he was saying, that he didn't remember anything after the second round, that when the fight was over and he was in his dressing room, he was like, oh, well, knocked me out in the second, huh? To his corner men or whatever, and they were telling him, of course, that it went 6 rounds, and he was shocked to hear that. I mean, don't know if he really was actually blacked out and that hurt or whatever or not, but I definitely think he would, you know, beat Maidana in a rematch if they do ever fight again. Hopefully they can, and he gets a chance to avenge that loss. So moving on, great win for Ortiz. So see what he does next, see who he fights. He's at the 140 stacked division. Bradley, Alexander, Zab Judah, you know, list goes on and on. Amir Khan, Marquez possibly getting into the mix there. Of course, you've got well, mentioned Devin Alexander, but anyway, you've got a lot of guys there, of course, so plenty of people for him to fight, a lot of interesting fights to be made there, obviously, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, on the undercard, at the fight after that, before the main event, Saul Alvarez, the red-headed kid, who's Mexican. Don't really see a red-headed Mexican too much, but anyway, he's 20 years old, great future for this guy. Knocked out Carlos Baldomir. Baldomir never been knocked out before, never even been really close to being stopped before. Knocked him out in 6 rounds, so very good performance from Alvarez. This guy has shown he's got all the tools to be one of the great fighters. You know, we saw his last fight against Jose Miguel Cotto on the undercard of the Mayweather-Mosley fight back in May. After being rocked in the first round, he came back and dominated the rest of that fight all the way until he stopped Cotto in the 9th round. So another impressive performance from him last night. He's at the 154 division, so interesting fights there, of course, that could be made, and we'll see what happens with his future. He never had an amateur career at all, and he's already fighting, you know, some decent opposition, so we'll see if he steps it up a little more in his next fight or not. But very, very bright future for him, only 20 years old and undefeated, of course. And on the undercard had Frankie Gomez, the kid from East LA, just like Oscar De La Hoya. He got a 3rd round knockout. I did not get a chance to see that fight yet, actually, but hopefully can download it off the computer sometime today or tomorrow, maybe. And we'll see how he did. I don't even remember who he fought. Doesn't matter. Fought a nobody. But he knocked him out in 3 rounds, so we'll see what happens. And some of the fights over the weekend also were Johnny Gonzalez. He got a TKO, I believe it was the 6th round. I didn't see the fight, of course, because it wasn't shown here, but I read somewhere today that he did, or yesterday, that he did get a knockout. It's either the 3rd round or the 6th round now. I can't seem to remember exactly. But anyway, he defeated his opponent, and we'll see what he does. So that was a good win for him. Got a good, impressive knockout. And on the, well, not on the undercard, but on a separate card last night, Humberto Soto won a 12-round decision, and Jorge Arce also won a 12-round decision. A little dispute there of what happened. I think it was originally called a draw, and then they went back and realized that he did get the nod on the scorecard, so they did reverse the decision for Arce. So, and he's, you know, wanting to get a shot at the bantamweight title now, I believe. So we'll see what happens there. Always very good fights, interesting fights to be made there, of course. And I believe that's it for the fights for the weekend. So there you go. There's the recaps. Got a few fights coming up later on this week. I will try to do a show sometime this week before those fights. Got Kasim Uma versus Joey Gilbert, the Contender Star, and this Saturday, September 25th, and give predictions on that on the next show probably. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.